While she examined my 7-month pregnant belly, my husband was running his hand along her leg, and she let him. Worse, she smiled. She liked it. I was lying on the exam table, still, vulnerable. But the mirror on the opposite wall reflected every hidden movement beneath the desk. The secret touch, the shameless flirting, the betrayal, alive and unfolding right before my eyes. And the worst part? I already knew. Hi, my name is Claire. I'm 34 years old, and today I'm going to tell you how my husband cheated on me while I carried his child, and who he cheated with. You won't believe it. If you've ever felt your heart ripped out in silence, leave a heart in the comments. I was 5 months pregnant when he started to change. Small things at first, colder touches, distracted kisses, absences disguised as exhaustion. But what destroyed me was the way he looked at me. Or rather, didn't. He no longer saw me. He looked through me, like I wasn't even there. He stopped caressing my belly, stopped kissing it. Every time I mentioned the baby, he smiled, but not with his eyes. It was the kind of smile that comes from someone whose mind is somewhere else. And that somewhere, I would soon discover, wore a white coat and a perfume far too sweet for a doctor's office. Tall, slim, impeccable skin. Red lipstick, the kind chosen to mark territory. Her coat couldn't hide the sculpted body beneath. Her gaze was direct, the kind that doesn't flinch in front of a wedding ring. Dr. Melissa, OB-GYN, young, elegant, hair pulled into a careless bun, that same red lipstick. A slit on the side of her coat revealed just enough of her toned legs shaped by hours of workouts. That day, something was off in the way she looked at me. She spoke kindly, but whenever he came to my appointments, the air shifted. They exchanged quiet glances, smiles that were too short to be courteous, but too long to be professional. At first, I refused to believe it. I was hormonal, sensitive, vulnerable. My feet ached, my breasts were heavy, and my heart was starting to dim. I told myself, "You're imagining things, you're just insecure." But no, I wasn't. A betrayed woman's instinct doesn't lie, and a mother's, it's even sharper. On Friday, I woke up to blood running down my legs. I rushed to the hospital, heart in my throat, hands shaking. He drove beside me, silent. Not a single word of comfort. No, it's gonna be okay. Just his fingers tapping the steering wheel, impatient, as if my pain were an inconvenience, not a tragedy. And guess who was on call when I arrived? Her, Melissa. The doctor who smiled too much, but now looked serious. Too serious. Too professional. She asked me to lie on the table, gestured for him to help her, and he did. Obedient. Like a team used to working in sync. While she spread the gel across my belly, he held my hand. But he didn't look at me. His eyes were under the table, on her legs, and that's when it all crumbled. Because when I turned my head toward the mirror on the wall, I saw it. I saw what no one should ever have to see. I saw his hand slowly sliding up her leg, gripping, squeezing, and she didn't pull away. She smiled, slightly, with the tip of her tongue resting at the corner of her lips. I froze. My baby was still moving inside me, alive and perfect, and I was dying slowly. My world cracked right there, between the sound of her heartbeat and the silence of my soul being crushed. I rushed out of the exam room, but said nothing. Didn't expose what I had just seen. I left my phone behind by accident, went back to get it, and they were kissing. I didn't say a word, didn't scream, did nothing. They didn't even see me. God, the rage. To this day, I regret not shouting, not making sure everyone in that crowded clinic witnessed the destruction of my family. But I didn't cry. Not there. Not in front of them. I stored it. Every detail, every touch, every look. Because I knew that was just the beginning. That night, I sat on the edge of the bed, still wearing the hospital wristband. He was already in the shower, humming, as if nothing in the world was wrong. The sound of the water drowned out my breathing, short, heavy, full of hatred. My belly ached, but not from the pregnancy. It was my soul. It was disappointment pulsing from the inside. I picked up my phone, opened the clinic's Instagram page, and there she was, Melissa Harper, OB-GYN, smiling in every story. Likes from my husband on nearly all her photos, and on one of them, the caption hit like a dagger. Caring for 2 hearts at the same time. 2. Was that what they were now? I started digging. And there it was. All the messages saved in his iCloud, which he never had the brains to log out of. Spicy texts, emojis, voice notes, videos. One of them made me grip the pillow so hard my fingers went numb. She'll never know. You deserve to be cared for by someone who truly admires you. I swallowed the nausea, shaking. They spoke about me like I was an obstacle, a mistake, and the child I was carrying, just an inconvenient distraction between their little rendezvous. I stood up, walked to the kitchen, sat down, rested my head on the cold marble countertop. Not to cry, but to remember who I was. I wasn't weak. I was a woman betrayed at the most sacred moment of her life, carrying a child, while being tossed aside like a worn-out object. I returned to the bedroom. He was already in bed, smiled at me, called me love, and made room under the sheets. I laid down. On the outside, I was intact, but inside, I had already changed. I was now a woman ready to destroy. The next day, I scheduled another appointment with Melissa. I called the clinic with the sweetest voice I could fake. Hi, this is Claire. I'm 29 weeks and would like to adjust my follow-up schedule. With Dr. Harper, please. Yes, her. The receptionist didn't suspect a thing, confirmed the time, smiled over the phone. So did I. But what no one knew was that this time, I wouldn't be going as a patient. I arrived early, hair tied back, red lipstick, and a gaze no one dared to meet. I asked to use the restroom, took the back exit, studied the layout, memorized the room numbers, watched the flow of staff and patients. At the exact time, I entered through the side entrance, phone in hand, recording every second. She opened the door, smiling, that same saintly face pretending to save lives. Hi, Claire. So good to see you. Are you sure about that? I asked. Stepping inside and closing the door firmly, she froze. Her smile faltered, but she still tried to stay in control. Of course. How are you feeling? Let's cut to the chase, doctor, or should I say, mistress? She turned pale. Her hand trembled slightly over the clipboard. This was the moment she feared the most, and I craved the most. Claire, I think you're... Shut up. I opened my bag and pulled out the photos. Screenshots of the messages, audio files, videos. I threw them all onto the desk. You examined me while you were touching my husband. You smiled at me, called me dear, while secretly planning to steal my family. You knew he was married. You knew I was pregnant, and still, you just had to prove you could. She choked. The tears came. But I felt no sympathy. I didn't want her to suffer. I wanted her to collapse. You know what's the most disgusting part, Melissa? You called yourself a doctor, a woman, a healer, but what you did was take from me what was most sacred. And now, I leaned in, my face just inches from hers. Now it's my turn to cut. She tried to explain, mumbled useless excuses. He said you were distant, that you didn't love him anymore, that you only cared about the baby. I smiled. For the first time, truly smiled. And you thought you could beat me with words? I'm a mother, Melissa. A mother. And mothers don't give up. They destroy for the ones they love. I grabbed the folder with the documents. We had recorded everything. And before I left, I gave her one final warning. Expect a call from my lawyer and the Medical Ethics Board. You're about to learn what it means to violate a woman's body and heart at the very moment she needed protection the most. I walked out of that clinic, feeling the wind on my face, and for the first time in months, I could breathe. That night, Adam came home as if nothing had happened. He took off his shoes at the door, asked how I was feeling, hugged me from behind in the kitchen. His hand rested gently on my belly. Hypocrite. He had no idea I had already filed for divorce, that the video of his intimate consultation was already in the hand of 2 attorneys, and that the medical board would be receiving a copy as well. But I didn't say any of that. I just turned to him, smiled, and kept cooking dinner. During the meal between bites, I dropped the bomb. I know everything, Adam. He froze, tried to laugh it off, tried to play it cool, but his eyes, they were already screaming. I saw you too. I heard the recordings, I watched the videos. While I was carrying our child, you were running your hand under your mistress's exam table. He turned pale, begged for forgiveness, tried to explain, tried to hug me. Don't touch me, I said, cold, firm. I don't want your apologies, I don't want your tears. I want distance, and I want you to know that the child you claim to want so badly will grow up never knowing the scent of your betrayal. He fell apart right there, sitting on the living room floor, cried like a lost little boy. But I no longer saw a man, just a poorly drawn sketch of what was supposed to be a father. The next morning, he left, suitcase in hand. The following week, he was officially served, and a month later, Dr. Melissa Harper lost her medical license. Today, I live in another city. My son was born healthy, strong, with the deepest eyes I've ever seen. Sometimes I think about how he was conceived in pain, but I also know he saved me, because while they were plotting behind my back, I was rebirthing. Not as a wife, not as a victim, but as a woman who survived. If you were ever betrayed at the very moment you needed love the most, write, "I survived" in the comments. Let's show the world that pain doesn't destroy us, it shapes us.